Hey, y'all, let me tell you about the day a 17-year-old girl from a rundown corner of Cincinnati turned a courtroom upside down and took on a system that thought it could crush her family. Picture this, a packed courtroom, air so thick with tension you could choke on it. And there's Lena Carter, standing tall, all 5'2" of her, staring down a judge who's just called her a little project kid and told her to sit down cause the grown-ups are talking. Her dad, James, is sitting there in handcuffs, head low, looking like the world's already written him off. But Lena? She's got this fire in her eyes, like she's about to burn the whole place down with the truth. This ain't just a story about a trial, it's about a kid who refused to let the system win. So, let's rewind a bit. Lena grew up in a tiny apartment in Over the Rhine, walls thin enough you could hear the neighbors arguing about who stole whose parking spot. Her dad, James, was a bricklayer, hands rough as sandpaper from 20 years of building other people's dreams fancy office towers. He'd never stepped foot in as anything but a worker. But at night, he'd sit with Lena on their sagging couch, surrounded by stacks of old law books he'd picked up from thrift stores. "Why do you keep these, Dad?" she'd ask, flipping through pages that smelled like dust and hope. He'd lean back, his eyes sharp despite the exhaustion, and say, "Knowledge, Lenate's the one thing they can't take from you, no matter how hard they try." See, James wasn't just laying bricks. He was laying a foundation for Lena to dream bigger than their zip code. Lena was a straight-A kid, already accepted to Howard with a partial scholarship by 17. Her teachers called her a natural, but they didn't see the midnight hours she spent underlining cases like Brown v. Board or Gideon v. Wainwright, taping them to her bedroom walls like other kids hung posters of rappers or athletes. Her mom, Carla, a nurse who pulled double shifts at the hospital, would cook mac and cheese that could make you cry, and every night, the three of them would sit around their wobbly kitchen table, talking about Lena's future. "You're going to be a lawyer, baby," James would say, his voice steady like he could see it clear as day. "Not just any lawyer, the kind who fights for folks like us." Lena would nod, feeling the weight of his belief in her, even when the world outside their door seemed hell-bent on keeping them small. Then everything went to hell. It was a Tuesday morning, Lena getting ready for school, when the call came. James had been arrested at the construction site downtown, some shiny new bank building. Word was he'd gotten into it with his foreman, a guy named Vince Russo, who ran the site like his own personal kingdom. The job was a mess, safety violations everywhere, loose scaffolding, guys working 16-hour shifts with no breaks. When James saw a crane operator, Tommy, stumbling around half drunk, he did what any decent person would. He told Russo it wasn't safe. Russo, all red-faced and puffed up, told him to shut up and get back to work. "You're paid to lay bricks, Carter, not think," he sneered. James held his ground. "I'm paid to go home alive, and so's everyone else." That's when Russo lost it, shoved James so hard his hard hat went flying. James pushed back, just enough to keep Russo off him, but Russo tripped, hit his head on some rebar, and went down. By the time the cops showed up, Russo had spun a story. James attacked him, unprovoked. The security cameras? Conveniently broken. The crew? Too scared to talk. James, a man with no record, was cuffed and charged with aggravated assault. Lena's world flipped overnight. She started spending every waking hour at the Cincinnati Public Library, claiming a corner table in the legal section, poring over case law while her friends obsessed over prom dresses. The librarians started calling her counselor as a joke, but they saw the desperation in her eyes, the way she'd stay till closing, her notes piling up like a fortress. Her dad's public defender, Mike Sullivan, was a walking burnout, juggling 50 cases with one foot out the door. When Lena and Carla met him, he barely looked up from his laptop. "Look, take the plea," he mumbled. 2 years, it's a gift." Lena's fists clenched. "He's innocent, Mr. Sullivan." Russo swung first. Sullivan sighed, like she was a kid who didn't get how the world worked. "Lena, it's his word against a white foreman's. You do the math." That night, Lena sat in her room, college acceptance letters gathering dust. Howard, NYU, Berkeley, feeling like dreams that belonged to someone else. She wasn't just fighting for her dad anymore. She was fighting a system that had already decided he was guilty. Then she found it. Digging through court records at 3 a.m., Lena stumbled on a pattern that made her stomach churn. Judge Walter Hayes, who was presiding over James's case, had a history. Black defendants, white victims. Sentences 400% above state guidelines. White defendants, black victims. Barely a slap on the wrist. Lena's hands shook as she built spreadsheets, case after case. 42 black men sent away for years on flimsy charges, all under Hayes's gavel. It wasn't just bias, it was a machine, grinding up families like hers to keep the powerful in place. She printed everything, her binders bulging with proof that would make any civil rights lawyer's jaw drop. But who'd listen to a kid from the projects? Her friends didn't help. At school, her best friend, Tasha, pulled her aside at lunch. "Lena, you're killing yourself over this. You look like a ghost, and you're throwing away Howard for what? Your dad attacked his boss. People saw it." Lena's voice was quiet but sharp. "My dad doesn't touch drugs or liquor, Tasha. You know that." Tasha rolled her eyes. "My cousin says construction guys snap all the time. Maybe he just lost it." That was the moment Lena realized she was alone. Even her guidance counselor, Ms. Perry, started questioning her. "Lena, your dad wouldn't want you giving up your future." But Lena wasn't giving up, she was doubling down. The game changer came 2 days before the trial. Lena was staking out Russo's construction office, waiting for a security guard named Javier, who'd been listed as unavailable in the police report. When she finally caught him, he looked like he'd seen a ghost. "I can't talk, kid," he said, lighting a cigarette with shaky hands. "Russo's got this city locked down." But Lena didn't back off. "My dad's facing 10 years for protecting your crew. You saw what happened." Javier hesitated, then spilled it. The cameras weren't broken. He'd saved the footage, haunted by his own sister's case, where evidence had disappeared too. He led Lena to the security office, pulled up the video, and there it was, James calmly confronting Russo, Russo shoving him, James pushing back only after Russo swung again. Clean self-defense. Javier handed her the USB drive. "Russo's brother-in-law runs Hayes's law firm," he whispered. "They've been pocketing city contracts for years. Your dad's just collateral damage." Lena clutched that drive like it was her dad's freedom, her mind racing. This wasn't just about James, it was about a whole corrupt network. Trial day came, and Lena walked into that courtroom like she was born for it, 3 binders under her arm, reporters snapping photos of the teen lawyer from the projects. Judge Hayes took one look at her and smirked. "This isn't a school play, young lady." Lena didn't flinch. "Your Honor, I'm invoking my dad's right to familial assistance under Ohio law, Section 841.2. His counsel's inadequate, and I'm here to prove it." The room buzzed. The prosecutor, Dan Weaver, a slick guy with a perfect conviction record, laughed outright. "A kid playing lawyer? This is a felony case, not a debate club." But Lena was ready. She'd memorized every rule, every precedent, and she had that USB drive burning a hole in her pocket. Weaver came out swinging, flashing doctored photos of Russo's injuries and fake complaints about James's violent history. Lena's heart sank. These weren't in the discovery files. Hayes overruled her objections, his eyes daring her to keep fighting. During the recess, James grabbed her hand. "Lena, maybe we take the plea. I can't let you go down with me." But Lena wasn't hearing it. She marched back in, plugged in her laptop, and lit up the courtroom screen with Javier's footage. "This is what the prosecution didn't want you to see," she said, her voice steady as the video showed Russo's attack. Weaver tried to object. It could be doctored, but Lena was ready. "Then let's ask Javier Martinez, who's here to testify." Javier walked in, head high, and told the truth. Russo threatened him, but he was done staying silent. Then Lena dropped the bomb. "Your Honor, this isn't just about my dad. Russo's company paid your family's law firm $2 million in contracts over 5 years. You've been locking up workers who report safety violations to protect that money." The courtroom exploded. Hayes slammed his gavel, face purple. "You're in contempt, girl." Lena didn't back down. "Then recuse yourself, Your Honor. Let a real judge hear the truth." She laid out her binders. 42 cases, 42 families ruined by Hayes's gavel. The room went dead quiet. Hayes stared at her, his empire crumbling, and finally muttered, "I recuse myself." Judge Karen Ellis took over, reviewed the evidence, and dismissed the charges in 10 minutes flat. James's handcuffs clicked open, and Lena fell into his arms, Carla sobbing beside them. The crowd cheered, workers who'd been silent now shouting for joy. Weaver slunk out, his record trashed. Russo? He was facing charges by sundown. Lena's binders sparked an investigation that freed 15 men and shut down Russo's company for good. 6 months later, Lena graduated high school, a full-ride scholarship to Harvard Law tucked in her cap. James was back at work, now a safety supervisor, making sure no one else got screwed over. Their apartment walls, covered with articles about Lena's fight, letters from families she'd helped free. But the real win? The kids who wrote to Lena, saying they'd stand up to injustice because of her. At Harvard, she stood before her classmates and said, "The system only wins if you stay quiet. What are you going to fight for? So y'all, what's the injustice you can't let slide? Maybe it's a shady landlord, a crooked boss, or a system that's got its boot on someone's neck. Drop it in the comments. Let's talk about what's worth fighting for. And if Lena's story hit you, share it with someone who needs to know they're not alone. Knowledge is power, but courage? That's what changes the world."